Hey plant people, thank you for deciding to spend your time with me today to talk about my June plant favorites. I feel like June is the first month that I've had in a while that I feel like I'm kind of starting to get on top of things now. Not necessarily that I feel like everything's done, because that is definitely not the case, especially like in spring and summer when the days are longer, everyone's getting more sunlight, especially in Georgia, it's a lot more humid. Things are growing really rapidly, so it is in some ways more work when it comes to keeping on top of watering and just like making sure there are no pest outbreaks, because I have had a couple of like spider mites and thrips. You know, it's just that time of year when things are kind of waking up and deciding to come out and party. I feel like I don't have as many things that are going seriously wrong. Like I had the issue with all of that soil, and then I feel like I've had like the root rot that resulted from that, and then I kind of had a bunch of different projects going on where I was like building my Hoya shelf and like rearranging and downsizing a few plants and stuff. So I just feel like I've been really, really busy, and I'm finally getting to the point where things are not quite as chaotic. Although I do have some things like the watering and stuff, which does take up a little bit more energy, but it's not as stressful as all of your plants having root rot. Let me tell you, it was a challenge this month to not make all of these Anthurium, because my Anthurium were the ones that were most impacted by the bad soil with the root rot and stuff. So I've spent the last month repotting, constantly checking on roots, adding things to the substrate to make sure that it's chunky enough, that it's still retaining enough water that I'm not having to water it every single day, but that the roots are starting to look healthy. I have also been experimenting a little bit with the Great White. I've seen a lot of the people that I follow that have really recommended this and said that this has made a really big impact on their plant health and like their root health and stuff. From what I understand, there's a lot of like sciencey stuff that goes into this, but from what I understand, this is premium mycorrhizae, which is beneficial bacteria and trichoderma. But from what I understand, there's some kind of exchange that goes on between these bacteria and whatever is going on in this and the plant that helps it absorb moisture and nutrients and stuff better, and like promotes root health. So I definitely needed that, because literally like 50% of my collection had a root rot. So this is the first month that I've put this on, so this is going to be a fun experiment that I'll share with y'all. There are a lot of other brands that do the same thing, but this is just the one that I've heard specifically talked about a lot. There's a lot of information about this out there, and it's kind of hard to understand, so I was just kind of going with what other people were saying that I trust, that I follow, as far as whether or not this is worth it. I will say that even though I just started using this and I don't think it's had enough time to make an impact, my Anthurium have been doing considerably better because they don't have root rot, and I've been just investing a lot of time and effort in making sure that they're all doing well and they have what they need and there's nothing crazy going on. So I'm hoping that this will be just like the little extra boost that I need to really get things rolling. With that being said, my first two favorites are Anthurium. The first one is going to be, so one parent plant is a Carla crossed with an Ace of Spades, and the other parent plant is RLFS, which is Ralph Lynam Fort Sherman. And this plant I've had for a few months now. I really loved this one just because of how long the leaves are. Of course, it's dark. We've got the minimal veining going on, which is really beautiful. It is a velvety leafed Anthurium, so it's that sheen is just really beautiful. And these leaves just really spoke to me. I'm a sucker for these really, really long Anthurium leaves, and the sinus looked a little bit interesting. Like I don't know exactly what direction that's going to go with. But it did decide to put out its first new leaf for me, which is this bad boy right here. So we can see we're starting to get some coloration in that veining. So we've kind of got that yellow and orange that's starting to show up. Very, very dark green on this one. And now keep in mind, this is still somewhat of an emergent, so it is still expanding. It does still kind of have that more vibrant coloration that comes with emergence. I feel like I spend at least 10 to 15 minutes every day just staring at this specific leaf. Like, I'm just so pleased with how this looks. This is exactly what I hoped for when I purchased this plant, is just how long the leaf is, how dark, that really beautiful veining. It's kind of like yellowy and orange. And this is just an absolutely gorgeous plant. And this is only its first leaf that it gave me, and it's already sized up considerably. So we can see that's the emergent. It's not done expanding, and that was the previous leaf. So it's definitely gotten a good bit bigger with this one, even though, again, this one is not done expanding yet. But yeah, could not possibly be more excited to see what this leaf continues to look like and what the following leaves will look like. Y'all will probably see a lot more of this plant. Number 2, this is my Forgetii crossed with a Magnificum. And I got this plant from the plant farm off of Etsy. And I can't say that I was pleased with their packaging and their shipping. However, both plants have survived, even though the Forgetii, I got a Forgetii too, and it's still really struggling. It was not even like in the pot when I got it, and they don't really have, I guess, a way to secure the plants very well in the mail. And I think that has a bigger impact, like I've said previously, on Anthurium when they're like a little bit more delicate. But this was her previous newest leaf. And I mean, this was a considerably sized plant when I got it. Like, you can see this leaf is not a small leaf, and we can definitely see the Forgetii in there, although it does have separate lobes, so we do not have a fused sinus. But this plant is really, really beautiful. So it's very dark. I like the veining that you can really see the Forgetii in. It is that very like kind of lime green color against that dark velvet, which is absolutely gorgeous. But the reason this one has been really stunning me this month is it put out this new leaf. This leaf, I know my boyfriend's tired of me talking about this leaf. This leaf is huge. This is my hand. Like, this is absurd. This is the biggest Anthurium leaf that I've gotten so far. And I just was not expecting its very next leaf. I've repotted it twice. It went through that really traumatic shipping experience. It also put out an inflow, which I tried to pollinate, but it did not work. That was my first attempt, though, so I'm not going to be too upset. She just wasn't ready to be a mom, you know. But I was just like, so first of all, when it came out, I'll have to insert a video of it because I did take a video because it was such a vibrant, gorgeous red. Like, I've never seen an emergent on an Anthurium in real life or online just be such a vibrant, glowing red color. So I was already totally shocked by it. And it came out and it was fairly large, and I wasn't really thinking about the fact that it was going to continue to get larger and larger and larger because I was so like brainwashed by the color. But it has just been, oh my gosh, it has been getting so much bigger. And with it being, this is the first leaf that it's given me. So I just cannot wait for these next leaves. Like, how big are these things going to get? I just can't see. I have a problem. And that problem is I love huge leaved plants. Like, all the plants that I get, I'm just envisioning these like giant, monstrous jungle leaves. And I cannot fit that in my house. So I don't know what I'm thinking. But, you know, I just keep saying that that's a problem for another day. So that day is not today yet. So for now, we're going to really admire this enormous leaf. But it does still have a little bit of that kind of like red. It's like fiery. You know, I feel like this is like a phoenix or something is what this makes me think of. But it's got that kind of like red, glowy, emergent coloration to it. And then again, those very bright neon green leaves. So just the combination of that glowing red with the neon green leaf veins is just, it is so jaw dropping when I see it every single day. Like, I just never get tired of it. Every day when I wake up in the morning, that's the first thing I do is go and look at this leaf. Honestly, it looks like it's trying to put out a new leaf already. Let me whip her around over here. I can't really get her super close to the camera, but she has the little tip of a leaf poking out again already. And this one's not even hardened off. So I'm like, she is showing out. She is very happy right now. Now we are going to move on to a Hoya. So this one is the RHM 14-1. I've had this for a little while, and if you've seen in my previous videos, I previously had all of my Hoya in 2 of those small Akbar IKEA cabinets. And those are fantastic, by the way. I got the larger one and they're like $30 each. And they are just like a really great option to keep your plants one kind of away from your pets, because my dogs don't necessarily like eat them normally. Sometimes they will kind of chew on things though. So it just kind of puts my mind at ease to know they physically cannot get to those. But also they just look really nice. So it's like a really nice aesthetic to kind of like showcase some of your plants. But I had so many Hoya jammed in there. So I got some shelves off of Amazon, and I got some bonsai wire that I made these trellises out of. And if you check out that video, it was just like a few videos ago. I'll try to link it down below or something. But you can see me set up that whole area and that whole situation. I have like all the products and everything linked on that video. But all of my Hoyas have been so much happier with the trellises and having more space and more light and everything. So they've been growing like crazy. This one, its previous leaves, like this one came to me as a fairly mature plant. So we had kind of like this situation going on. So it was not just like a 2-leaf cutting or anything like that. And I loved this one because it has that kind of like ridgy texture to the leaves. And it's funny, these have been growing super duper flat, which I think is so funny. I don't expect them to continue this, especially because its newest leaf is curved, but I just thought that was really funny too. But it put out this massive new leaf. So you can see how big the previous leaves were. This is its new leaf, so it is huge. So I was really shocked by that. But also, this one's really wobbly because it's in this like little tiny cup, and it has all of this going on up here. But it's just not, like its roots aren't crazy enough for me to need to pot it or anything yet. So I'm going to try to keep it in here for a little while longer. But I have this sitting down in another like cover pot because it's so unstable. And it put out a peduncle. I cannot believe this. I gasped when I saw this. I've not been collecting Hoyas long enough or really experimenting when it comes to conditions and all that to get them to the point where I feel like they're ready to bloom. But I do have a few that are putting out peduncles. So that does really give me like a little bit more confidence that I must be doing something right, because we are having a little bit of peduncle action happening. So I'm so excited to see this bloom. This is like, I think this would be my first, well, it's like my first full-on actual Hoya bloom. Once these open, I'm just going to be over the moon. This is Paulownia repens. You may also have heard of this referred to as watermelon begonia or like trailing watermelon begonia, although it is not a begonia. I don't know why it's called that. I mean, it does look like a watermelon. I understand that part. I guess it does kind of have like angel wing type begonia leaves, but this thing has been going nuts, if you can't tell that already. So I got this not too long ago from Home Depot. It was $15. I've also seen them at Lowe's for $15. I have one little baby cutting of this, but it's been growing so slowly. So when I saw this, I was like so excited because I really love this plant. It's so beautiful. But she has just been growing like crazy. I have her hanging in a window, so she's getting plenty of sunlight. She is a little bit on the thirsty side, especially with it being summer. Normally I take all of my plants to the sink and I kind of like flush them through with water to make sure like I do a really good job. But this one seems fine with me just like pouring water in there here and there. Her leaves are just incredible. Like I love the way that they grow. They're so funny the way that they like stand up, and I'm trying to see which way. She's facing, this way is the window that she's facing. So, but just the pattern on the leaves and the way they really stick up, it's so perky and cute. And then the leaves have this really gorgeous pattern on them. But it also, what you can't feel through the camera, is it has this like really interesting like leathery texture to the leaves. And they do get pretty large as they start going. So these leaves down here, you can see, these are pretty big leaves. But she has just been so easygoing. She's been growing like crazy. She looks so, so good hanging in the window. Like if you can picture this hanging in the window. Just absolutely beautiful. I have still been seeing these at Home Depot and Lowe's. And they are still, I believe, like $15 or $20 depending on the size of the basket. But they had some really massive baskets recently that were that same price point. So if you like the look of this, you can find a pretty mature, well-established plant for a really, really good price. Last two are alocasias. They're both variegated alocasias. The first one is my Amazonica, and this one I purchased as a baby plant starter plug from the Green Escape. It is the pink variegated one. And previously, this was the leaf type that we were working with. So it does have like a little bit of variegation on it. Nothing stunning, but I mean, for the price point of this, I was not disappointed by this kind of like minimal variegation here, because I was hoping that obviously like eventually once it kind of started maturing and if I was able to give it a little bit more light, we would hopefully get some better variegation. And this new leaf, y'all, oh, and it looks like she may be putting out another leaf too. Look at the variegation on that. Like she is pink. She is pink. You may not be able to see it like super well on camera, but oh my gosh. And the back is like such a, Lord have mercy. See that purple on the back? Woo! She looks incredible. And I was so surprised by how big this leaf is. I think I just have like PTSD from my non-variegated Amazonica. Although that plant has been going crazy too. Maybe it's just the time of year, honestly, I don't know. That plant's been going crazy too because it literally did not do anything for over a year. And then it put out one new leaf, and it was like a pretty large leaf. And then it just put out this other, honestly, that one probably should have been one of my favorites too, but I don't want to like overdo it with alocasias. But it put out this like a massive, I'm like, I don't know what is going on with her, but I'm not complaining. But this one hopefully will eventually get to that point. But I just absolutely love this variegation. I will say if you're looking for some of these like more uncommon variegated alocasia, now these are often, especially if you get a more established plant, they're pretty expensive. You can find them on Etsy from pretty reputable sellers, but you're going to be paying the premium price for a more established plant. If you feel fairly confident in your growing environment and like being able to keep your plants alive and you feel like you've got your routine down pretty well, I would definitely recommend the Green Escape for starter plugs. They do have some really good pricing on the variegated alocasia plugs that you can find there sometimes. I also got a variegated sinuata quilted dreams from them recently, and it hasn't done much because I haven't had it for a super long time, and this has taken a really long time to start growing. The baby plants are a really, really great option, but they do sometimes take longer to grow, and you do have to be a little bit more careful with them because they can respond to things in a little bit more dramatic way, I found, just because they are smaller and they're not as well established and they don't have as many roots and things like that. So you just have to do your research, be a little bit careful. But this is a really, really great option if you don't want to pay that really, really premium price for a more established plant, but you do want to grow out one of these variegated versions. The next one, this one, I'm so in love with this plant. This is my variegated dragon scale. She has finally started sizing up. So she was just giving me these really, really, I mean, the variegation is absolutely gorgeous. But these were, these leaves were staying pretty small. But I put her, when I did my rearranging, I moved her in front of the window. So I have her on a shelf where she's facing an east did I say it was east? I can't remember now. An east facing window, I believe. But we have a privacy fence in the back that kind of throws a shadow over the front of that window as the day progresses. So it's not like they're getting too much sunlight, but they are still getting a significant amount of light. But these last 2 leaves, this is one of them. I just cannot. This may be my favorite variegated alocasia. Just because I love the dragon scale in general. This leaf in particular, like, good grief. That thing is absolutely gorgeous. And it does have a lot of white on it, so I hope we're not having a lot of issues with like browning or this like melting off or anything. I have been supplementing with silica, which is supposed to help with your variegated plants that you have issues with browning. So hopefully that will prevent her from browning these leaves off, because I would really honestly be heartbroken. Another thing that I really like about these is the veining on the back. I don't know if you'll be able to see it on camera, but it does have like a little bit of a pinkish hue to it, which is just really pretty, especially when they're like emerging and you get that kind of like pinkish veining showing through the white. Absolutely incredible. All right, y'all, thank you again for stopping by to check out this video. Hopefully this was as fun for you as it was for me. And thank you also to everyone that's been commenting, liking, subscribing from my videos. I really enjoyed making these and chatting with people in the comments and stuff. If you like this video and you want to see more content like this from me, please subscribe, please like. It would mean so, so much to me. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.